All right.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Solstice MFA program's guest reading, which is one highlight of day 3 of our winter 2021 residency, start of our spring semester. I'm Meg Carney, the program's founding director. Since its launch in 2006, the Solstice MFA program has been dedicated to a diverse faculty of world-class writers who also love to teach, and to supporting a student body made of emerging writers who also love to teach, and to supporting a student body made of emerging writers who seek a warm community where they see themselves reflected and where they feel safe to take the creative risks necessary for them to grow as artists. During each biannual residency, students and faculty participate in workshops, lectures by our graduating students, craft classes taught by faculty and guests, and other events and readings such as the one you're about to experience. We are grateful and honored to have such an incredible slate of guest authors with us this week. Each of them will be briefly introduced by a member or friend of the Solstice community. Then each will read for 3 minutes. A warm thanks goes to our American Sign Language interpreters, Elijah Ayers and Crystal Klinger. If you are in need of their services, please feel free to pin each interpreter to ensure he or she remains on your screen during the reading. I also want to offer a huge thank you to our guests who will read in this order: Leah Henderson, Amy Clark, Anika Aldamuy Denise, Leah Falk, Beth Little, Jennifer Markell, Cammy Thomas, Marjorie Thomsen, Tanya Whiton, and writers in residence Lee Hope and Dzvinia Orlowsky. And now I will start us off by introducing Leah Henderson, who is the only guest who has recorded her reading because she could not be with us live. Leah Henderson is an award-winning author of captivating books for young readers that often include social justice themes. Her middle grade novels include The Magic in Changing Your Stars and One Shadow on the Wall. Leah's picture books include Mammy on the Mound, as well as several forthcoming titles. Coming out next year, for example, Daddy Speaks Love has been described as a love letter to the big and small ways fathers show love, inspired in part by the words of George Floyd's daughter. Also forthcoming is Your Voice, Your Vote, which will be out in time for the 2024 elections. In it, a little girl learns the power of casting your vote with the help of her mother and grandmother as they overcome many obstacles meant to keep them from the voting booth on election day. I had the great pleasure of meeting Leah at the James River Writers Conference in Virginia in 2018. And as soon as I heard her on a panel, I knew that she needed to come as a guest to Solstice. Please give Leah a warm welcome.
Hi everyone, it is nice to be with you this evening, even if it's on only a recording. I will be reading from my latest middle grade novel, The Magic in Changing Your Stars. And what you need to know for this portion, is that the main character, Ailey, is being tasked by his grandfather to take care of a pair of tap shoes that the grandfather received from Bojangles Robinson, the famous tap dancer. And Ailey has never seen the shoes before and doesn't know anything about them until now. Okay. They just look like shoes, Ailey admitted, not sure what he'd expected to find. He still couldn't believe Grandpa had never tried them, but he wasn't Grandpa. Even though the shoes were too big, Ailey dropped them on the floor and was ready to try. King gave a low growl and whine, backing up. It's okay, boy. I'm not going to mess them up. King whined again. As if pulled by magnets, Ailey could have sworn the shoes moved an inch closer to his feet. Whoa, you see that? King's head tilted and his panting grew heavy. Ailey shook his head. Here goes. Without another thought, he slipped his feet inside. They felt like any other oversized shoes. It was kind of disappointing. Shouldn't shoes that held Grandpa's greatest regret feel different somehow? He wiggled his feet free inside the leather walls. He tried to lift his foot to tap, but nearly toppled over. The shoes were definitely too big. Even when he knotted the laces, their openings were wide, but he didn't take them off. Instead, he started to flow. All right, all right, all right. About to hit the stage like Grandpa's tonight, but I gotta move slick not to mess up my kicks. I could tell by the crowd I'm the one they adore, and when I leave the stage, they'll be begging for more. Ah, snap! Ailey rocked his upper body, batting his hand at the air. He did a little shuffle, then he flung his arms out, attempting to run in place. If he wasn't careful, he'd send the shoes flying. The tap shoes almost glowed in the light spilling through the windows. With the moon only partially visible, Ailey marveled at the brightness of the stars. He wiggled his toes in the roomy shoes as he peered outside. The guiding star glimmered as if it wanted him to share its spotlight. Then Ailey sucked in a breath. The little star he was sure Grandpa called Ada twinkled 10 times brighter than the brightest firework. We don't want Grandpa to have regrets, do we? Ailey whispered to Ada, tapping his foot. I wish we could help him change his stars. Ailey pretended he could tap like Grandpa, and that's when it happened. There was a slurp, then a sloop, then a swoosh, then a crackle. The shoe leather hugged his toes and the laces settled into elegant knots. This didn't just happen. I know this didn't just happen. Ailey stared at his feet, his heart pounding. King scrambled back, barking and growling at the shoes, not caring who he woke. Before Ailey could shush him, a tingle flicked up his legs, twirled about his spine, spread out to his fingertips. The walls rippled, the shelves shook, hammers rattled. There was a pop. King's bark and the bzzz of a swooping fly got swallowed in sudden silence. King? The shelves, the computer, the workbench, the walls were gone, and so was King. Everything went black, like Ailey had been blindfolded. He tried to shout, but couldn't get the sound out of his throat. He fell and spun all at once. There was nothing to see and nothing to hold. His arms and legs kicked and bucked at air. Then pavement. A shower of sound blasted his ears. A pinhole of light grew wider and wider. The brightness stung. The blindfold ripped away. Ailey squinted, standing. Where am I? Thank you so much. That was a portion of The Magic in Changing Your Stars. And to find out where Ailey is, you got to pick up the book. I hope you all have a wonderful evening and stay safe, everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm Megan Leduc, a student in the Solstice MFA program and its intern. Today, I have the honor of presenting Amy L. Clark. Amy's fiction and nonfiction have appeared in many journals, including Litro, Fifth Wednesdays, Brilliant Flash Fiction, and Juked. Her story, I'll Stop, was nominated for a 2013 Pushcart Prize, and her column, Smart People on Bad Days, appeared every Monday in Boston's Weekly Dig newspaper from 2010 to 2011. Her collection, Wanting, is available as part of the book, A Peculiar Feeling of Restlessness, 4 chapbooks of short fiction by 4 women. Her story collection, Adulterous Generation, is available from Queen's Ferry Press, and her first novel, Palais Royal, is now available from Engine Books. Jensen Beach, author of Swallowed by the Cold, said, "Every so often, but not often enough, I come across a writer like Amy Clark. Her work alchemizes grace and darkness and compassion and humor to startling effect. Please welcome Amy L. Clark."
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. I'm going to read a short story tonight called Cherry Tomatoes, which was recently published in Brilliant Flash Fiction. Cherry Tomatoes. What does dead feel like? My daughter's therapist has instructed me to ask that when my daughter professes a wish to kill herself. I haven't had occasion to use the line on my kid this week, but since it was suggested to me, I can't stop asking. What does dead feel like? I ask the boneless, skinless chicken breasts wrapped and chilled in my hand in the supermarket. What does dead feel like? I whisper to the faces of ripe cherry tomatoes as I pluck them from their vine in my yard. What does dead feel like? I say, closing my eyes and letting myself float in a tepid bath. Later, my daughter, content for the moment with a carton of chocolate milk in one hand and a raspberry-filled granola bar protruding from her mouth, shows me videos of cartoon cats playing the bongos, the saxophone, the kalimba. Riding atop cartoon vans, these cats thwap out theme songs, 80s hits, trance music, death metal. I think of all the things that have had to happen in the history of human life for these videos to be created. Each one took hours to code, to generate. Hundreds of researchers discovered or invented the mechanisms by which these moments were designed and beamed into the hands of my 12-year-old, and from there into my retina, where they are processed by my one brain. Do you really think we couldn't have cured cancer? I want to ask. Now this human collective, it seems to me, is a species with a death wish. My daughter crumples the granola bar wrapper and shoves it into her pocket. She covers my hand with one of her own, sticky and soft. I work hard to arrange my features into what I hope is a look of appreciation. It's great, I say, unfolding myself from the couch, thinking of that chili chicken breast that I'll need to slide into a pan soon. You haven't even seen the one with the teacup pig, she says. Her face is shining with reflected light from her tiny screen. And I think of how long it takes for certain wavelengths to arrive from each cold star and what will be left when they get here. Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Aisha Karasik, an alum of the Solstice MFA program and a picture book lover. It is with great pleasure that I introduce multiple award-winning author Anika Aldamuy Denise. She has received over 20 awards for her writing, including the 2020 Pure Belprix Author Honor Book and Award for Planting Stories, The Life of a Librarian and Storyteller, Pure Belprix. Great way to start the new year. Much like the late Pure, Anika also plants seeds with her stories. She shares the joys and successes of life, whether about coming to terms with moving to a new home and Stella and Bella come home, or how the power of love affects the entire community. In the love letter, and in the journey of Rita Moreno's Oscar-winning performance in the original West Side Story and A Girl Named Rosita, the story of Rita Moreno, actor, singer, dancer, trailblazer. The past year has been challenging for all, and it is so inspiring to read stories in which real people can overcome adversity and enjoy a fulfilling future. Welcome, Anika.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for that lovely introduction. I'm going to actually hold up the book because it is illustrated by the wonderful Leo Espinosa, and that's part of the picture book process is the illustration. So I'm going to read and turn pages. This is A Girl Named Rosita, the story of Rita Moreno, actor, singer, dancer, trailblazer. Juncos, Puerto Rico, 1935. In a tiny cottage, tucked between El Yunque Peak and a wild, fragrant rainforest, lives a girl a girl with the rhythm of the rainforest in her feet and the sweetness of the sugarcane fields in her swishing skirts. A girl named Rosita Dolores Avarillo who loves to sing and dance for anyone who'll watch her. Step, turn, snap, kick, swish, jump, twirl. Until early one morning, Mommy whispers, "We are moving to the mainland." "But why isn't Francisco coming?" asks Rosita. "He will come later," says Mommy. "I am taking you first because you're a big girl and you won't cry." So Rosita does not cry as she waves goodbye to her baby brother. In the dark, cramped cabins of the crowded passenger ship, Rosita is quiet and brave. After days of wobbly decks and stormy seas, a statue of a woman wearing a crown rises up to greet her. "Where are the trees and flowers?" asks Rosita. "They will be back in summer," Mommy explains. That night, Rosita dreams she is back in the tiny cottage with Francisco. When she wakes, she does the one thing Mommy thought she wouldn't. She cries. Rosita's new school is a fortress of brick where children tease her for her accent, darker skin, and curly hair. "Corre," she tells herself each day on her way home from school. "Run so the bullies don't catch you." Out of the cold and away from the noise, she returns to a home that isn't home. "When is Francisco coming?" Rosita asks. "Ay, hija," says Mommy, "pronto, pronto." If only she knew more English, she could tell the bullies, "Déjenme en paz, leave me alone." So while Mommy sweats and scours, scrubs and scours and sweats and sews, Rosita practices English in secret. Is leaving behind her native Spanish like letting go of her native island and all the things she loves? Fields, flowers, Francisco. Rosita stops asking, when is Francisco coming? Her heart tells her he will stay in Juncos with Papi and Abuelo, and she will stay in America where she must learn to speak English. Day after day, she practices until she can speak English perfectly. I am Rosita. I am 5 years old. Just as Mommy promised, the leaves return in summer, bringing color to the concrete city, tiny glimpses that feel like hope. Rosita smiles again and dances. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Al Leftwich, a graduate of the Solstice MFA program, as well as its certificate program. Leah Falk's prize-winning poetry has appeared in the Kenyon Review, Orange Quarterly, Field, Poetry Daily, and Electric Literature, among others. Her work was selected for Best New Poets 2018 and nominated for a Pushcart Prize. In her wonderful chapbook, To Look After and Use, Leah draws on the life and work of mathematician and cryptographer Alan Turing as a departure point for considerations about mortality, faith, family connections, and memory. Now, as Allen Ginsberg complained about in his epic beat poem, America, writers can't just go into the supermarket and buy what they need with their good looks or their good books. Leah pays for her groceries by running literary programming at Writer's House at Rutgers University, Camden. Her website, MFA Day Job, offers perspectives on how to balance writing with making a living. Here's a sample of what you'll find there. Posts like From Adjunct to Amateur Astrologer, Poetry and PowerPoint, and Get an MFA or Don't, but please get to work. Please welcome Leah Falk.
Thank you so much, Al. I'm going to be reading 2 poems from my manuscript in progress, Other Customs and Practices, and it draws on the questionnaire developed by ethnographer Shin Ansky in 1912 as part of his project, the Jewish Ethnographic Program. So the first poem's title is question number 41 from that questionnaire. Is there a belief that the request of a pregnant woman must not be refused? What is the reason for this? When she visits, my mother wants to talk about food, what she ate years ago to make the baby move. What meals seemed like emergencies, pancakes with syrup, midnight burgers. Each bite a brick in some structure she believed would keep me, fort of fiber and starch. Each mouthful a wish thrown in a fountain, heavier each day with coins. My own pregnant want so far is quiet, without pendulums or cold fronts rolling in. My body keeps a time I cannot read, handless, faceless still. I run 10 miles and call it an amulet. I scramble eggs, stir soup, and say, here are my poor comforts, stay. My mother goes on, I gained too much, she repeats, but I was worried. She doesn't say, I built a house for what I'd lost, for ghosts who never had eyes to open. I split my arms and legs to make the beams. I spit on the windows to shine them. I ground my teeth for bricks of pearl. And I invited you to live there and eat their food and grow by their light. This is called Questionnaire. Is it a custom to play old songs at the piano, to give the child a useful sadness from the start? What is written in holy books about this? Once a woman staggered alone through a field as her pain crescendoed, drowned out her heart. What grew there that kept Adam so busy reaping? Even in the womb, a hand grasps and reaches for what it can't have. This year, winter oranges freeze on the trees for lack of want. She must have wondered, would this pain rename her? On a drive across the country's heart, ripe sheaves of wheat whisper the forgotten songs of women, composed in a notation that blood washes away. Under the words of the psalm, who cries out in Exodus, wondering if her tongue will remain holy or, somewhere in her body's desert, turn away from her? On hands and knees in the mud, she hears the wheat hiss her new name, Chaya, the living one. Chava, Chaya, what songs were sung to welcome you? You who were a gleaning, an offering, gathered from the corners of the fields. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cassie Rubico, a nonfiction writer and Solstice alum, here to introduce Beth Grossart. Beth Little. Beth Little has a keen sense of teenage angst. She also has the mastery of craft to put that angst into words, words that become great stories. As a multi-genre writer, Beth's essay, Abandoned But Loved, was published in the anthology Somebody's Child, Stories About Adoption. Her short stories have appeared in Easton Fiction, an online literary magazine, Yarn, the YA Review Network, and most recently, Hunger Mountain Literary Review. Her short story, Two Truths and a Lie, was winner of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators Magazine Merit Honor. Beth is a Solstice alum, currently working on a young adult novel. She has served as assistant director for the Solstice MFA program and is now teaching in the humanities department at St. Paul's School. And this past May, Beth earned a new title, Mom to her son, Bowman. It is my pleasure to introduce Beth Little.
Thank you, Cassie. All right, we'll begin. This is a creative nonfiction piece inspired by, yes, the birth of my son and some of those ruminating thoughts that we tend to have, I think, as mothers. Mama, it's called. Mama, I say, taking your tiny hand and placing it on my cheek. Papa, you say. Mama, I say. Pop, you say. You repeat the sound, let it fall off your tongue, squinting your eyes as if you might see your words in the air. I smile and laugh, so of course you say it again. Pop, papa, papa, pop. It's not really your first word. You don't know what words are, let alone this word's attachment to the fuzzy-faced man laying on the other side of you in the bed. Mama, I say again. Pop, you say, and sigh and roll onto your side to face me. Your hands reach for my cheek and gently stroke my hair until you fall back asleep. My eyelids are heavy, but I wake up to your soft fingers lightly batting my face. Your eyes are closed, but you're making that gasping, sobbing noise you only make when you wake up in the middle of the night. I'll take you downstairs to my office couch, where I've been feeding you since the first day we brought you home from the hospital. At the top of the stairs, I will pause and hold on to you a little tighter, watching each step. I'll be drowsy, and your baby weight and my new mother balance will cause us to lose our footing. I'll lean too far forward and we'll topple, stumble, fly down the carpeted steps. I will turn my body so my back sustains the impact and you land squarely against my chest, my stomach. I will not let go. Not like when we slip on the ice. When we slip on the ice, I'll lightly toss you in the air towards the fluffy snowbank. Cold with snow down your puffy suit, but you'll have landed softly. Like the steps I'll take through the trails on the backside of campus. The safety report said a strange person had been seen. Don't travel alone. I will remember this as I turn the Bob Jogger's big wheels onto the path behind the maintenance building and see a bearded man, tall, a little scraggly, turn onto the trail. You'll giggle in the stroller and he'll lean towards you. Sweet baby. I'll pull the stroller back, turning you the other way. We're meeting my husband on the blue trail just back here, I'll lie, then speak into my phone. We're coming, be there in a minute. The man will know I'm not talking to anyone and he'll lunge at us. I will pick you up out of the stroller, push it at him and run. I'll call 911. I will have already texted Pop to tell him we were walking on the trails, you know, just in case. Just in case we came across a scraggly man or a bear. Would we be able to outrun a bear? Would I be able to sacrifice myself to save you? Wave my arms and yell, scaring him away? Don't come between the mama and her baby. You're asleep again after being fed. I place you in the bed and climb in next to you. You roll towards me. I put my forehead against yours and close my eyes. You reach out and touch my chest. You breathe. I breathe. Mama, you will say, and my heart will jump, soar, and wrap itself around you. Thank you.
Hello again. Today I also have the pleasure of introducing poet Jennifer Markell. Jennifer's poems have been published in journals nationally and internationally, including the Auroran, Consequence, the Hawaii Pacific Review, Rhino, Solstice Literary Magazine, and a forthcoming publication in the Chimeran Review. She received awards from the NEPC Barbara Bradley and Furman Houghton Awards, the Chester H. Jones Foundation National Poetry Competition, the Comstock Review Awards, and was a finalist for the Rita Dev Prize in Poetry in 2016. She is the author of an award-winning chapbook, Leaving the Green Elm Market, and her poetry collection, Samsara, was named a must-read book of poetry by the Massachusetts Book Awards in 2015. Her poetry has been displayed at Boston City Hall, and she was selected to read her work at the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. Jennifer taught writing, literature, and fiction classes at Middlesex Community College and the Boston Center for Adult Education, as well as communications writing at Boston University. For the past 20 years, she has worked as a psychotherapist with special interest in the therapeutic uses of writing. Please welcome Jennifer Markell.
Thank you, Megan. It's great to be here with everybody. Okay, I have 3 short poems tonight. The first one is called Inside a Thought Bubble. Dreams sometimes come with the free trial of something you thought you wanted. Your fingernails paint themselves red and grow into claws. You shave your head so you can feel closer to the sun. An imagined lover hands you a glimpse. While you sleep, a wig machine weaves regret into silk. A quilter hand stitches a gathered view. The future hides with speckled moths, pineapples, amulets, flamboyant scarves, and fearless swans swimming backwards like dreams. This poem is called Egress for My Mother. Fear finds a doorway out. Anger exits by fire escape, throws sadness a rope ladder. Hope rests on the roof, contemplating wings, their temporal hinges, how they open and close like a heart. And the last poem is called January Thaw, which was actually written before the pandemic, but resonates in a different way this January. January Thaw. Today I cut off my hair and walk the frozen crust of the city unafraid, all chin and cheekbones. I regard my imperfections camouflaged in drab window panes. Today I forget what I've learned about weather, clouds spreading like spilled milk across the sky. I unbutton my coat, body open to strangers who forget what they've learned, meet my smile with their own. They tell their stories in broken pieces that shine like the ice embedded in my boots. They want me to undo their damage. I want them to touch my hair. Thank you.
Hello, I am back to introduce Cammy Thomas. Cammy Thomas has published 2 collections of poetry, Inscriptions and Cathedral of Wish, which received the Norma Farber First Book Award from the Poetry Society of America. Her 3rd collection, Tremors, will be published this fall, 2021, by 4-Way Books. Cammy holds an MFA from Warren Wilson College and a PhD in English from Berkeley, where her dissertation was on women and the feminine in Tennyson's poetry. 2 of her poems, under the title Far Past War, were set to music by her sister, composer Augusta Reed Thomas, and will premiere at Washington's National Cathedral in 2021. Having taught all levels of creative writing, composition, and literature from high school to graduate school, Cammy is both a poet and a scholar, with a gift for helping students see how literature of the past speaks to, impacts, and inspires us in the present day. We look forward to her class on Beowulf this week and to hearing her read now. Please welcome Cammy Thomas.
Thank you so much, Meg. And thanks also to Quentin and Crystal and Elijah. I'm going to read two poems. The first is called Chilling Kills. I'm a killer from my living room among my lovely things. A killer swimming in a cool pool, trying not to hurt anyone. Under my own tall trees, a killer. Everything about me kills, even in my everyday shoes, even in my cool pool. In my living room, I take it as a given. Nothing wicked comes. Mowers mowing, I vacuum dust away, while somehow killing. I take it as a given, how clean we keep it, how wicked. Chilling kills of people I don't see because I'm vacuuming. How clean we keep it, my America, how free of weeds. The second poem takes place in Long Island, New York, where I grew up. I guess it's a place of desire. The poem is called Jones Beach, Summer 2016. Just dip your toe in and the ocean grabs your heel and your hull, staves your keel. It finds your fingers, fastens to your flesh, fans out, as when you lusted after that boy, or ran away for a day at 10, or smoked cigars like a man. The things you have done that you ought not to have done. Stealing from a locker, sex play with your sister on the sprung sofa in Oyster Bay. Seaweed drags at your waist, wants you to stop all this forever. Do nothing but drift, because to yearn is to move, and to move is to inflict. When the tips of your toes touch the sand below, it billows into spires of hottest desires. Blue, your first marriage. You swerved towards someone else, had to have him, even as you knew it would all soon cool. Look, that wild green sea of life and too much life that you have to turn and turn and turn from. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Quentin Collins, Solstice Assistant Director, introducing Marjorie Thomsen. Marjorie Thomsen is the author of Pretty Things Please, published by Turning Point in 2016. Two poems from this collection were read on the Writer's Almanac. Another one of her poems about hiking in a dress and high heels was made into a short animated film. Her accolades include Pushcart Prize and Best Internet nominations, and she has received poetry awards from the University of Iowa School of Social Work, Poetica magazine, and others. Her work has appeared in publications such as Pangyris, Rattle, Swim, and Tupelo Quarterly. Marjorie earned certification through Mass Poetry and Lesley University to be a poet in residence in the Massachusetts Public Schools. For several years, she served on the board of the New England Poetry Club. She holds a master's in social work and is a psychotherapist and instructor at Boston University School of Social Work. Welcome, Marjorie.
Good evening. Thank you. I'll be reading 3 poems tonight. The first one is called The Gentleman at the Dinner Party, and I wrote it back when we were going to dinner parties. The Gentleman at the Dinner Party. He's older, dapper, and mustached. We mingle at a dinner party of charred eggplant with buttermilk sauce. He's tender with his wife. The laws and aura of him are borrowed from the hanging gardens of Babylon. His pistachio orchard is in a faraway province, a hearth of agriculture. Heat and long summers are so foreign on this bitter white night, a winter I've lost perspective and forgotten to marvel. The man is from 3 generations of farmers, a lineage of devotion. He tells me that pistachio shells split naturally prior to harvest. As I leave, a printed flower opens fully on my dress. The next one is called The Wild Turkey, and this is written back when we could walk our children to school and go to plays. The Wild Turkey. The difference between desire and longing came to me in early May, walking my daughter to school after seeing a play the night before about a man who invents the universe. On our walk, a wild turkey is hanging out in tall purple garlic flower stalks in the neighbor's yard, and we take pictures. Walk away reluctantly, but fast, knowing wild things can get wilder. When I ask my daughter's friend Julia to guess what we saw, she answers, a wild turkey, and tells us she has seen 2, named Richard and Doorknob. So I know desire is a flawless awareness of pleasures in and out of reach that we go wild for, in a universe where my daughter, purple garlic flowers, Julia, and the wild turkey will die. And longing is my desire for the impossible. Summer of Lemons. It was the summer of lemons being replaced by oranges. Lemons, they said, had lost something that lemons sometimes lose. Painters piled navels and Valencias, mixed red into yellow for still life with oranges. The wooden bowl beautiful with lonely cracks, organic with time and handling. Evening, men and women squeezed wedges from the larger fruit, a squall over flounder. Mothers whisked sweeter juice into oil, sherry, vinegar, crush of garlic. Seaside, we sprayed oysters, then peppered as usual. In the absence of lemons, there was a thirsting to taste water kindled with novelty, set ablaze by unplumbed citrus. Slices like thin suns were cut to fit the rim line, to spin the circumference of goblets and jam jars. It was then drinking what was more July than June that we returned to each other. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brenda Prescott. As a longtime member of the Solstice MFA program's advisory board, I am absolutely delighted to introduce writer, educator, and editor, Tanya Whiting. Tanya is an enabler, one of extreme talent. In her narratives, for example, she facilitates our entry into the world of the outsider, escorted by compassion and irreverent humor. Her publications include a book of collected essays, Two for the Road, as well as stories in the Cincinnati Review, Solstice Literary Magazine, and other publications. Tanya's honors include multiple New England Press Association awards for her feature in sports writing in Casco Bay Weekly in the Portland Phoenix. She has taught at the University of Southern Maine and Lesley University and was the first associate director of this MFA program. Tanya has devoted her boundless spirit to the success of writers. In fact, I can honestly say that my debut novel would not be forthcoming this spring if it were not for her enabling powers. So, with much gratitude, I give you Tanya Whiting.
Tanya, you need to unmute.
You couldn't hear me cussing because I was muted. This story is part of a collection, Brass, about growing up as a Navy brat. It was published in Cutbank in October of 2019. Wingman. Wednesday, February 17, 1973. The plane was already on fire when it hit our building, and the pilot was already dead. I learned this fact many years later after I'd tracked my father down. He relayed the story over pints at a pub in South Boston as if it were part of a logical continuum. Fate was already in motion. Everything had been decided. Rumor was the pilot, Robert Lee Ward, was smoking in his mask. 28,000 feet over San Francisco Bay, his flight leader flying alongside, and he just dropped out of sight. The other pilot radioed Oakland Air Traffic Control to say, and here, my dad got a little choked up. He lost his wingman. I was pretty boggy by that point in the conversation, but I had some questions that needed answering, and they weren't about the payload a US Navy A-7E Corsair II could carry, or which squadron it had belonged to. I wasn't interested in bandying dusty Vietnam-era acronyms, or discussing the unique quality of the A-7E's flaps. He'd been a civilian anyway. Even if all of his friends at Alameda Naval Air Station were enlisted guys. Dirtballs was what my mom called them. Turds. She protested the war. The bartender set another round in front of us. My old man looked me over and lifted a pint in one swollen, cracked claw. My buddies, you know, they got to go to all these exotic places. They'd been on carriers in the Gulf of Siam. They'd taken leave in Bangkok. They'd haggled with tiny Korean ladies in the Seoul markets, picked up some jungle bug while marooned on Guam. They had stories to tell. If things were shitty, if, for example, a guy lived in a lousy apartment building that smelled of other people's cooking, well, it was all temporary. But not for my dad. He could never get away. Must have been tough, I said. An American Airlines Boeing 727 departing Boston was framed momentarily in the bar's one narrow window. Did he know the island smelled like burned flesh and jet fuel for months after the crash? Did he know that my friends and I found shards of metal in the trees? Or that my mom and I slept on a pile of blankets on the floor of a neighbor's house? Every day I circled the blackened hole in the ground where Robert Lee Ward's oxygen mask and parachute vest were found. And 54 days after the A7 plummeted out of the night sky, the remains of an unknown white male between the ages of 30 and 40 were discovered. It was decided they belonged to my father. And yet, here he was. Did he have anything to say about that? He exhaled, he shook his head. College hadn't taught me anything. The plane was on fire, son, he repeated. You have to understand, it made an opening. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eric May, a past guest and friend of the Solstice MFA program. I'm delighted for the opportunity to introduce my good friend, Lee Hope. In her distinguished career, she's been a triple threat, making her mark in education as a teacher and as director of the Stone Coast and Solstice Writers Conferences, and publishing as editor of Solstice Magazine, and of course, as a fiction writer. Her novel, Horse Fever, is an enchanting piece of storytelling, a riveting tale that features an engaging narrative voice and a deft handling of switching point of view between three characters, which is no easy trick. If you're an aspiring novelist and want a strong example of how to write from the point of view of the opposite sex and nail it, and the effective use of present tense in a novel-length work, which has tripped up more than a few writers, then I strongly recommend Lee's book. I've assigned it several times to my advanced creative writing classes at Columbia College, Chicago, as a teaching tool, because the strongest message you can give creative writing students about what good writing is to assign them good writing to read in conjunction with the workshop. Can't wait to hear what she'll read this evening. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming the deft, enchanting, and most engaging Lee Hope.
Thank you, Eric. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, okay. I'm going to read from my new novel, A Small Fire Can Do Great Things. We know from the prologue that in the future there will be a fire. This is an excerpt from chapter 7, Natalie, you'd be pretty if. I have a new long shopping list for in clothes. I've outgrown my old ones. I'm taller than either mother or dad, and big boned but fragile. Nothing but skin and bones, mother says. While mother has grown fat. She eats in secret. The more she eats, the less I do. And when I grow little breasts, I eat even less. At meals, I hide pieces of food under my plate or in my napkin to toss away, except when I'm out because of my sweet tooth. I binge and sneak a cupcake or vanilla Dairy Queen. Then for dessert, chocolate X-Lax. And I slouch and wear jeans and huge t-shirts to conceal my tits and let my hair grow long and fall into my face to cover my never-ending supply of zits. No boy looks at me even once. Mother says, you'd be pretty if you'd get the hair out of your face, if you'd stand up straight, if you didn't talk back, if you weren't selfish, if you'd think of others, not just yourself, if you'd smile. if you'd gain weight. I lose weight like flesh burns on the stake. Flames do not sizzle, they hiss like a snake hisses and clings, like Saint Andrew, my brother, once clung to mother's breasts. But Dad says, got to treat your mother and brother with more respect, got to stop rattling on, got to ace those tests, got to leap the hurdles up the big hill of life. But Andy told me Dad said to him, got to feel burning desire. Dad never told me that, although I do feel burning desire, this time to get a total makeover, to be popular, like Mother said. But then, just as she is prepping to take me on the long promised annual school clothes shopping trip, Andrew gets pneumonia. So Mother says that our trip will have to wait. Right when I'm about to start a new private school in 7th grade. You're training him to be sick, I say. You're spoiling the little brat. Don't you talk that way to your mother about your brother. You're in big trouble. How big? I ask. A rude awakening, she yells. You go to your room and wait for your father to get home. But now, at long last, I yell back, no way, and you can't make me. She takes off after me, chases me round the kitchen island, through the living room, dining alcove, round again. I'm a gazelle leaping through air. She'll never catch up until I slip on the blue and red Persian rug, fall flat on my back, and she leaps on top, outweighs me by at least 40 pounds. Her big hands hold my small hands down, her thick fingers circling my thin wrists, tight bracelets. And she says, you're crazy. I say, no, you are. She shouts, no, you are. I shout, if I am, I inherited it from you, yelling into each other's face, me beneath all her weight. If I'm crazy, I cry, so is the holy son you worship. Andy inherited it, so he's nuts too. Heresy. She raises one fist, then stops. She has never hit me. No, not once, but words are fire. And she curses, may you never have children of your own. I twist free, run to my room, right where she wants me to wait for Dad's punishment. Lock my door, straight to my secret hiding place behind the heating unit, to my sacred, fat black book of lists. I am burning with rage and flip to what to take in case of fire. Delete chartreuse blouse that Mother bought, the color of scum. Delete designer jeans, insert sweatpants. Delete black flats, go barefoot. Delete makeup kit, go barefaced. Delete training bras, go braless. Get new fireproof backpack, some flame retardant stuff like the little saints' pajamas are made of.
Hello, and once again, I am Solstice's Assistant Director, Quentin Collins, this time introducing Dzvinia Orlowsky. Pushcart Prize poet, NEA awarded translator, and a founding editor of Four-Way Books, Zenya Orlowski is the author of 6 poetry collections published by Carnegie Mellon University Press, including her most recent, Bad Harvest, named a 2019 Massachusetts Books Awards must-read in poetry. Her poem sequence, The Disenchanted Desna, was selected by Robert Pinsky as a 2019 winner of the New England Poetry Club Samuel Washington Allen Prize. Her co-translation of a selection of poems from the Ukrainian by Natalka Bilatsarkiewicz, titled Eccentric Days of Hope and Sorrow, is forthcoming from Lost Horse Press in fall 2021. The Solstice community knows Dzvinia as an outstanding instructor and mentor, as well as one of the most fervent supporters of the program, its mission, and its students. Please join me in welcoming Dzvinia.
Thank you, Quentin. It's great to be here. Pussy Riot, want, don't want. I thought you were a catchphrase for the not tonight, oh yes tonight, but not 2 nights in a row of late middle age. How else to say it? The thatched roofs are on fire and the villagers have fled, except this woman whom you left behind, her skirt rising in flames, wild heat, a wreckage of KY and oil of Olay. Oh, graying, fraying, housebound hive, you're not my problem, though I will admit your spreading reflection in the handheld mirror looks this year, don't make me say it, wiser, if not for love or song. Can a finger dip into honey in late January? Can red wine stream like blood down my legs? This afternoon, huddled against the cutting winter wind in front of Boston State House, we protested, Putin must go, Yanukovych is a cesspool, while you, prison punk prayer, turn the world's attention to holy hooliganism. I thought you were a catchphrase for the want, don't want of late middle age. Oh, pussy, what a riot. I had you all wrong. The second and final poem I'm going to read, I guess, continues somewhat on the theme of Putin, and it's from my manuscript in progress titled The Disenchanted Desna, which is based on Alexander Dovzhenko's novella, The Enchanted Desna. But as a departure from the original text, these poems reimagine the lush Desna River Valley, and the Desna is a river that runs between Russia and Ukraine, in more disenchanted times, I would say in a more barren time of Putin. So I'd like to read one poem from that sequence, and it's called Desolate. He had no soul, only steam, no eyes, only 2 frying pans, no mouth, only a daub of red, no throat, only a chimney that choked him, no God, only a candle placed upside down. He had no voice, only a whip handle, no skin, only a sheepskin turned inside out, no feet, only puddles in which dirt swirled, no conscience, only pigeons spying from above. He had no will, only a cracked watermelon, seeds instead of memories, no woods, only withered grass, no roar, only labored horses and buckling calves, no bread, only one bowed fruitless tree. He had no angels, only the din of buzzing bees. He had no road to cross, no country, only a stinging nettle, no sins, only a thunder of artillery, no soldiers, only tongues over fires, no children, only an insurrection of flowers, no legs, though at times they ran like rivers of blood. Thank you.
Wow. This concludes the reading by guests and writers in residence of the Solstice MFA program's Winter 2021 residency. I want to thank all of our readers and our introducers and American Sign Language interpreters. And I hope you will buy our readers' books from your local independent bookstore. If you would like more information about our program, please visit our website, www.pmc.edu/MFA. Thank you again for coming. We hope to see you at our graduating student reading tomorrow and our faculty and staff reading set for Tuesday, January 12th. Visit our website's events page for more information about how to register. And meanwhile, stay healthy and safe, and thanks again for coming. Have a great night, everyone.